Welcome to Motherhood and the Messy Middle, where grade school meets grown kids, hot flashes meets holy fire, and no topic is too messy for this village. I'm Robin.
I'm Nicole, and we're two moms who slid into each other's DMs, built a deep friendship without ever meeting in person, and now we're creating a virtual village where we're inviting you in. This is season 2, and we're continuing our mission of normalizing the messy middle through real, connecting conversations between two friends who are living it right alongside you.
We'll be experimenting this season with themed mini-series on topics like estrangement, difficult conversations, holidays, and personal growth, always with honesty, hope, and maybe even a little laughter. Because we know that motherhood and midlife, it can stretch you spiritually, emotionally, hormonally, sometimes all before breakfast.
So whether you're raising littles, navigating midlife, or just tired of pretending that you're fine, this space is for you. So let's dive in.
Well, hi again, Nicole.
Hey.
So in the last episode on this series that we're exploring around estrangement, you really helped me to define estrangement as this multi-layered thing, that the undertone, regardless of what is happening in the dynamics of relationships, it's really grief.
Right.
And you and I have connected a lot around being able to hold each other and people in our lives as they're navigating the challenges of life and death, and not even just the death of a physical body, but the death of a changing season, like your child going from elementary to middle school.
Sure.
You have a child who just went from a non-driver to a driver, and it's any change, there is a loss. And I would really like to talk today about this topic of grief, and relate it to estrangement, but how powerful it is for all of us as moms to just open up to this conversation, because every one of us has been and will continue to be touched by grief and challenges.
Yeah.
And as moms, we have to hold that for our kids too, which is just so wild.
Right. Yeah. 100%. I think that we can be quick to rush past the grief in the busyness of life, or as the changing seasons change so quickly that then we don't allow ourselves to honor them. I think when we're talking about estrangement, what I hear a lot in this world is that we're grieving the loss of someone who's living. And it's a weird place to be, because it's not in there's not necessarily always one event and then there's a complete shift. So usually it's gradual. And so it's not even like there's one thing you can look back to and pinpoint and be like, oh, that was when it all changed, or that commemorates to your village or your community of how you need them to show up, because it's sometimes it's gradual, and it's not all just, it's not like ripping a Band-Aid off. And so it makes it difficult to even know how we're feeling, let alone communicate what we need from the people who are around us and who love and support us. I made a reel the other day about there's no casseroles. No one's bringing casseroles because there's not a moment in time. It's not like an anniversary date. It's not a thing. And because there is so much shame around the grief, you may, like we talked about before, you may not even tell anybody, because there's this layer of shame, because it's such a deeply personal area for us as women and moms to then open yourself up really for judgment. Because honestly, no matter what, even though I've walked through estrangement, it is a natural response. Like you said last episode of this, we judge people in order to gather our boundaries. I don't know that's not exactly the wording you used, but when someone's walking through estrangement or being cut off, it's like a natural instinct of I wonder what happened. I wonder what they did. What causes, a cutoff doesn't just come without something. But as that's what I used to think, and then I walked through it. I'm like, oh, well, like it really can be a. I mean, it was something, but it was a pretty. The reaction doesn't match. The reaction doesn't match like the incident that happened. Like it's not a fair reaction, or
It's
it's not
not
the same.
expected. That's a word that I was
Yeah,
introduced to recently. I use with my daughter a lot. Like it wasn't expected, right? It was an
yeah.
unexpected outcome and reaction. And when I hear you talk, there's one just really ridiculous thing, but this is how my brain works that I have to tell
Okay,
you.
okay, I'm ready.
You said nobody brings you casseroles. Do you know that in
Oh,
Minnesota,
do
we
people
call them
bring?
hot dishes? Oh,
Oh,
it's a
you
hot dish. Oh, yes, don't you know?
a hot dish?
Yes.
I've never heard that.
So I grew up in
Why?
Wisconsin, in Milwaukee, which is essentially Milwaukee's just like an extended suburb of Chicago. Let's be real,
Okay,
okay?
okay.
And so there was a lot of language shift when I came to live in Minnesota, though I have had this like Minnesotan Canadian accent, even growing up in, well, I don't know what that's about. But yeah, I was like, what the heck is a hot dish?
Yeah,
And when I've done some different recipe development for,
yeah,
holistic weight loss and
yeah.
wellness, I've actually explored like what the difference can be. And a hot dish technically is, well, it's any dish that is hot, but it would be like, it could be a full meal where a casserole
Oh,
is
it's just one item.
technically like a side item too. So, or I might be
Oh,
flipping that. Anyways, that's my little levity of an aside
that's
and
so
what my
interesting.
neurodivergence was like. Ooh, shiny light. Let me talk about that for a second.
No, I love it. I love it.
Um,
I would have never known that. That's so
but
interesting.
the other piece that I want to layer on to what you're saying and how I connect is had to walk through an immense amount of grief in my
Right.
life. And the majority of it is easiest to talk about because it has been through the deaths of people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the more typical way, the more expected way that we
Mm-hmm.
converse about grief. And even that, it has taught me so much in all of the different experiences, but especially the most recent one with my dad had early onset dementia. And so I learned about anticipatory grief,
Oh
which is
yeah.
when you're
Mm-hmm.
anticipating a loss. And that can happen even when you know that there's like a seasonal shift coming. And we're not talking about the
Mm-hmm.
death of like a person in their body. Um, but I imagine, if we're like planting these seeds of conversation, I imagine that part of your journey with estrangement was you were estranged and then repaired and then it happened again.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that anticipatory, I'm interested in that, as well as I just want to name that the second year of grief after losing my dad after his body died, that was harder. And that was,
Mm.
so he died in July of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
A couple years leading up to it were incredibly hard because he was like dying a little bit each time that I saw
Mm-hmm.
him. The
Yeah.
dementia was taking him in the Parkinson's. And then when his body died, he was in hospice and I was part of the hospice program is they provided grief counseling for 13
Mm-hmm.
months
Oh
after
wow.
the death. Yeah.
That's incredible.
And it was, and I already have a therapist and working all of the things. But then the 13 months came, I hit the 1 year anniversary. I was like, I was okay, and then all of
Mm-hmm.
a sudden it was because it's
Not
like
okay.
the unseen. And it's like what you said that nobody's bringing a
Right.
casserole.
Yeah.
And there's almost an expectation of, well, aren't you better? Or I'm not sure what it
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
and how much I put on myself versus what like society puts in.
Yeah.
But I just want to honor that all of it is messy and that it's easier
Yeah.
to address something more in the immediate and when it's seen versus
Mm.
the unseen, nuanced pieces. It's so much more complex.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's very,
yeah,
and everyone who's walking through estrangement is walking a different journey. There's different layers to it. And the anticipatory grief, well, and I don't even know how quite this fits, but like it happened with like like you said, we had a period of estrangement, there was reconciliation, then we're in a second period of estrangement, and each a little different. And I've responded differently. And I think that's why I'm more in a different season now than I was the first time, because it's my second go around of it. Um, but speaking of the anticipatory grief, like things like graduations, like I
Mm.
expected her graduation to look a certain way. But because of our first bout of estrangement, it didn't. Like, I didn't even receive a high school graduation announcement. Like, they were sent out, but I did not receive one. And so, like, and that has happened to another mom in my group of, well, actually, a couple, like, where these milestones, because we naturally have this expectation as moms of what we think, like, weddings, babies, what relationships with grandkids will look like. And what I hear a lot is like not there's not a severing of the relationship with their child, but then their grandchildren. So then there's not
Mm.
the relationship with their grandchildren, or
Oh,
so there's all these different layers of things that you then just naturally as a mom you expect when these changing seasons, right? And then they come, so you're hit with that wave of grief again of like, oh, I'm not getting to go to my grandchild's kindergarten graduation. I'm not getting to attend a wedding. I'm not getting to celebrate these milestones because of this estrangement. And so there's that grief that kind of sneaks up on you and, crashes over you. And, birthdays and holidays. Like we're coming up on holidays where it's September when we're recording this, and what do the holidays look like? Or for right now, my mother-in-law's coming to visit. So it's like, I can't reach out and tell her that my mother-in-law's coming because I'm blocked on everything. But like, do I find a way? Do I like send her a letter? Like these are the weird like thought processes that you like think about like, and because my mother-in-law is getting older, so every
does
visit
she have relationship with your
she
estranged daughter?
so well she so far the grandparents have reached out and there's been no reply. So
Oh,
I don't
and that's
know.
even what you were talking about, like the reduced contact, that it's like it can ripple and just be
Right.
all different ways.
And it's all these layers that you just don't think about on the
Yeah.
surface. And just like in anything, when you're walking through, you're like, oh, like there's all these different layers. And so that's been, that's interesting. Again, it's nice to walk with women who are going through it because it's nice not having to explain all of it. And again, I think it's that way with anything, but it's just nice that like somebody else gets it to feel like, okay, like I don't have to explain all the nuances. Like it's just, you know,
Yeah.
birthdays, holidays, those things are, coming up and you get hit with a wave of emotion. And then you get hit with the wave so more recently was our daughter's birthday and you're in this dilemma of it's her birthday. I assume that hearing from me would not be ideal. But also, if I don't reach out, I'm going to cause more damage in the long run. Will it be harder to reconcile with me if I don't reach out to her? Because what kind of mother doesn't reach out to their child on their birthday? But also, I don't want to bring up unnecessary emotions for her on her birthday. But also, by me not reaching out, is it gonna inadvertently bring up the undesired feelings anyways? And so you like wrestle with all of these different scenarios and all of these what ifs, and you go through this spiraling of what ifs and all these different circumstances and how different things can be used against you and how they might be perceived and how looking at it from her perspective and looking at it from my perspective. And then we decide to reach out and we're blocked anyways. So like it was all for nothing, but that's what it's like with the birthday, my mother-in-law coming, like holidays, like, and then there's this spiral. And I think that spiral is very normal, but it's also exhausting
It is
because,
exhausting.
and then it goes back to some capacity, it would be way easier just to shut down and shut out and shut off and
Hmm.
to reciprocate in this communication of, I'm just not even going to try because it's so painful to go through that spiraling and then to lead to nothing. And it's mentally and emotionally exhausting with no benefit. And so I don't want to try again. And that's
Hmm.
kind of where the place that I'm in. And so a lot of people might not agree with that, but I'm just in the place of I I have set the standard of I'm ready to have a conversation when you're ready to have a conversation. And I I feel a desire not to put in more effort than that.
Well, and you're creating boundaries, and even hearing you talk about all those things, like the mental load that we carry when we are in good spirits and good health and good, feeling like the belonging and the connection and all of
Mm-hmm.
that, and the pace of it, like that's a lot. And then when you're navigating all of those pieces, it's so heavy. And if I may, when you were talking about that, there's this incredible book that was recommended to me. And you know how I am. I'm like a
Mm-hmm. I
lifelong,
love
I
it.
can't stop.
Yes.
And I would really like to read to you this opening of one of the chapters that is called Laying Down Our Burden. Are you
What's it
ready?
from? What's the book?
The book is called Wild Mercy, and
Okay.
it's by Mirabai Starr, and it's Living the Fierce and Tender Wisdom of the Women Mystics.
Okay.
Here, come here. Take a moment to set aside that list that you've been writing in fluorescent ink, the list that converts tasks into emergencies. Items like feed the orchids become, if I don't accomplish this by 11 a.m. tomorrow morning, the rainforests are going to dry up and it will be all my fault. Or if I fail to renew my automobile insurance, I'll probably crash my car and everyone will die. Or this friend just had her breast biopsied and that friend's brother-in-law beat up her sister and my aunt just lost her job with the symphony and my nephew's contemplating divorce and I must call them all and listen to them all for an hour each and dispense redemptive advice. Gather your burdens in a basket in your heart. Set them at the feet of the mother. Say, take this, great mama, because I cannot carry all this shit for another minute. And then crawl into her broad lap and nestle against her ample bosom and take a nap. When you wake, the basket will still be there, but half its contents will be gone, and the other half will have resumed their ordinary shapes and sizes, no longer masquerading as catastrophic, epic, chronic, and toxic. The mother will clear things out and tidy up. She will take your compulsions and transmute them, but only if you freely offer them to her.
So
Now,
good.
I offer you that reading because, I dance in the world of expression of God and Christ consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
and I do not, I claim one specific religion and denomination, though I do identify as a Christian. It is for
Mm-hmm.
me this deep, deep dance, and the power of that writing is what I wanted to read it to you because it's what you are providing through the prayer exercises that you give people, through connecting with God and laying down your burdens
Yeah.
and knowing that what needs to be there will be there later, right? And that some of it though when you give it up is truly just given up,
No, it's such a beautiful, like,
which isn't giving up, right? It's like giving it up
yeah.
is not
Yeah.
giving up.
Right.
You're not giving up, Nicole. Like,
Right.
and I might disagree with like what your strategy, and it doesn't flip and matter, right?
Right.
Or I might agree with it and that doesn't flip and matter. Like what matters is you feeling steady and strong and living this one precious life that you get. And not everyone that's going through estrangement has multiple children, but I believe
Right.
many of them do.
Yeah.
And that you aren't letting life slip by, that doesn't make you a bad mom. That doesn't make you a
Right.
bad person. You
Right.
just are. You just are a
Right.
mom. You are a person.
Right.
You're going through this. Find whatever way that it is for you to connect with God, whatever, I work with a lot of women that have religious trauma and can't even use the word God.
Right. Yeah.
Great. Just open yourself up to the great mother, to the universe, to spirit, whatever it is, and let that continue to bring you back to the
It's
truth of
it's that
walking
centering
it.
piece. It's like
Mhm.
and essentially it's I mean what you read and like the way that I would view it and we've had conversations about prayer and the way that like I feel like you can envision prayer so it's not like just sitting down on like this stale like whatever conversation. It's creating scenarios like what that book just what you just read so
Making
that
the
we have
basket, putting
right
them
like
in there.
make
Yeah.
and as I think as women it's so helpful to like have that tangible piece like again it's like in your mind but like okay if I'm putting all these things I'm collecting them and then I feel like I have some imaginary control of it's going in this place and I can release it and like having that tying that image to our feelings it really does bring a centering and a release. And for me, that would be considered prayer. And I shift that to I'm crawling in the lap of my father. But like for that, there's nothing wrong with what you read. It's like you said, to each their own, whatever brings you that centering. And it brings us that peace where we can find that release. We can give that up because there is no, like yes, as a strange mom and anything, we spiral into these what ifs, but there is power in being able to release that and turn those what ifs and those fear into faith. And we do that by having these intentional moments like what you just read, where we collect them in a basket and we can release them and we can feel renewed and rested. And that comes through these scenarios like you just read. And it's so beautiful. I love it.
Well, and also, she started opening that writing by releasing the truth of the spiraling thoughts, of all of the,
not ignoring them, not pushing them off like this, honoring them and like
not
it's
trying to be like toxically positive either.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you're going to all of a sudden wake up and feel necessarily good, but that's even why the work that I do is about releasing weight. How do you lighten? And you said that it's
not just
like
physical,
right? And it's this burden on your mind and your spirit, and it also impacts your body. And we've talked about that in some other things. Like it's all interconnected. And so when you can come at it from several different angles, the other part that just is so powerful to me is, estrangement. When you defined it right away, you said that it's layers and that it's about disconnection. It's about losing your sense of self and belonging in your place, right? And how you define and the relationship. And the solution isn't easy. It's not simple, but it's clear. And it's about connection. And though we might be seeking the control that is part of being human, of wanting, for me, I want the connection with my dad. I want to feel safe and secure and held by him again. You want to feel the connection with your daughter and the family and all of those things. But between all of that, in order to manage our grief and continue to process it, we have to connect to God.
Right. Like I think that's when we talked about estrangement before in season 1, like that was it's like this identity shift for us. So where do we come back to finding what our identity really should be rooted in? And it's in connection. For me, it's my relationship with the Lord, and it's my identity of like who he sees me as. I was reading in a book yesterday, and it was talking about if I view everything as God's first, then I don't grieve the loss of it because it's his. And I was just managing it, but it was his first. And I thought about that in relationship or thinking about relationships. Like if I view my relationship with my children as his first, and if I really do view my children as his, if they're gifts from him, then I'm just a part of their journey. That journey doesn't mean that we're always going to be together. There's going to be seasons of maybe in and out, but if they're his, then that should be okay, right?
And
I don't know how to get there.
And your worth and your value are not defined by.
Yes. Thank you for saying that. It's so good.
Yeah.
So important. Yes.
But what is defining of your worth and value is in the way that you allow this all to shape.
That's good. Yeah.
I'm currently facilitating a spiritual deepening book study, and it is on hope. And it's the book Hope, which is the autobiography of Pope Francis. And I read it in May. Long story short, we had low registration for the book study. And so we reopened it for September and shifted it. So now we're running it now. And I wrote a note in there. And I was floored to read that I wrote it myself, but it was in a section where Pope Francis was we're talking about his father dying,
Mm.
and just then leads into the transition of life and how all that happens. And I wrote in there, the grief and losing a parent, or losing, in this case, anything, and a relationship, especially though, of love.
Mm-hmm.
It is expected that there will be a shaking, a shakening. The challenge is how to not allow it to be a shattering.
That's good.
But even when there is a shattering, knowing that it's an opportunity to reshape and allow for a spiritual awakening if you're open to it.
Yes. And that's the beauty in it. Like I again, I sometimes I feel like when we were in the other episode, we're talking about excitement and like being excited to talk about these new series, but like there's beauty in it, because we wouldn't have had these opportunities for this rebuilding or this reshaping without the brokenness. And so while in a way I wish none of us had to experience this, what an opportunity that we can make something beautiful from something that's been broken.
And that's the hope. And even your community is between hope and heartbreak.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to call you out, and we're just going to put this out here and into the ether, into the universe, to our listeners, because when you were talking about, when I read that and about the basket, and even how you frame, the visioning part around prayer, and all that I see, Nicole, is, first of all, you and me together in person. Okay.
Someday it's going to happen. It's going to be great.
I am going to attack you physically in all of the best ways. And it's going to be real uncomfortable for everyone, including me. But at a retreat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Facilitating a retreat as a guide and as a mentor, and doing exactly what you described in the last episode around taking the hand of everyone and holding the hands, right? And there's real power in presence, and there's real power in ritual. And even if you think of communion, the blood and the body of Christ, it is a symbol of what we are bringing in to help embody it, right? And it's the same when we take our fears and our things and our everything else, and we write them down, and we literally put them in a basket or burn them in a fire. That's a good one. Or what I've been doing recently, because apparently people like there's fire hazards or something. I don't know. But there's paper that is called like invisible paper, and it dissolves in water.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
I've been doing ritual with women putting their worries, and then we dissolve it in water, and then I've actually taken it out and like poured it on the base of a tree, and how then Mother Earth is,
I see it.
But there are all of these things that are in the same energy of grief, and estrangement could not be any more centered in that. And yet a lot of people don't talk about it because they don't know how.
Right.
And what I'm just so encouraged by is the hope that can exist within it, and that we have the ability, and that we need containers. So you're creating that with the community that we'll link in the show notes, between hope and heartbreak, as well as a future retreat to be determined. Hopefully in the mountains of Boise.
Yes. Yes. Or you found, we're at one point Robin was already looking at properties and where we could host a retreat. It kind of got a little sidetracked because, I got like a job
and because we both have ADHD.
Well, yeah. And so we get excited about things, and then we gotta walk it back.
Don't worry. It's
bit.
In a Google Drive somewhere. It's fine.
It is.
It's fine.
It is. So anyways, yeah, someday it'll happen and it'll be beautiful.
Yes. And this is all beautiful as it continues to unfold, even as it, so much of it is painful. And I'm just really grateful for this conversation, for our continued conversations, for everyone who is listening and supporting just women, moms being seen and letting us really reclaim our energy in whatever season that we're in. And as part of this season, this is the second episode on estrangement. We're going to go next week into really where all of this takes action. So we've been talking about the definition, about how these are the pieces that nobody talks about. But now let's get into next week, what we can do, the doing
healing,
to be able to move and heal and
Yeah.
cultivate that hope. So
Yeah.
we will continue this next week.
Bye, guys.
Hey, before you go, this podcast is made possible by our soul-led solopreneur businesses. NicoleCoates.com, where Nicole's helping moms navigate the pain of distance or estrangement, and Robin's Wellnest, where soul meets science meets systems to live, lead, and learn well. Support us there because it supports the conversations that we're having here. And if you love this episode, please subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave a review because that also helps our village grow. Now, we also have the Vault for you. You download the Vault, which is our growing library of resources, reflection tools, and extras in the show notes, as well as at motherhoodinthemessymiddle.com. Until next time, remember, you're never alone in the messy middle.